The latest St. Anselm College Survey Center poll shows the Secretary of State with a surge of support among Granite State voters in the early polling of the potential 2028 field. Vice President JD Vance continues to hold the top spot with 46%, while Rubio has 27%. But just a few months ago, Vance had 57% and Rubio was at 9%.
Well, what you just saw was new polling data about the Republican primary in 2028. Typically, we haven't talked much about the Republican primary because most of us thought it was a foregone conclusion, assuming Trump doesn't try to get a third term, which personally I don't think he's going to try and put too much effort into it. He's just too old, probably too lazy. He might say something or try, but ultimately he's just going to let things play out. But that's besides the point. We all thought JD Vance was going to sail to the nomination, probably win by record margins. It would be a super easy primary for him to win. But as you could see, he has lost significant support since taking office. He is down 10 points. Marco Rubio's up nearly 20. We actually are probably going to have a competitive primary. Trump is going to be in a little bit of a situation. He's going to have to pick between Marco Rubio and JD Vance. In fact, the donors, I don't think they like Vance very much. As you see right here, some GOP donors plot shadow draft Rubio 2028 effort as his star rises. Yeah, they're in. The donors are going to fund Rubio's campaign. JD Vance is going to have to go up against all the money of the Republican Party because the Republican Party machine is going to get behind Rubio. The only thing is the Republican Party machine is very weak, and at the end of the day, it's just really whoever Trump endorses. So you might be like, well, this doesn't really matter then if that's the case. If all Trump's endorsements the only thing that matters, then why are we even talking about this? Well, it's because Trump doesn't know who he's going to endorse, surprisingly. Look at this. Trump asking advisors about 2028, JD or Marco. He's undecided. He doesn't know. Just go back to the inauguration. He said a lot of nice things about Rubio, which means Trump in his head is deciding who is better, who has the most likely chance of winning. Because like I said, it seems pretty obvious Trump is just not going to put a ton of effort into staying in office. It doesn't seem like it's happening. He's just going to hope a Republican does, and then he gets to live out the rest of his years because, well, he's old. He probably doesn't have much time left anyways. But he needs a Republican in there because he's afraid a Democrat might go after him. I highly doubt most Democrats would, but that's not a chance he's willing to make, especially since he's, a felon. So, he intends on staying a free man. And Marco Rubio might be the best way he can do that. I mean, this is an interesting development, not one I would have predicted. I genuinely thought JD Vance was just going to sail to the nomination, but JD Vance is running into a problem. I don't think he's been as much of a yes man as Trump hoped. I imagine he is. Like, I'm not saying JD Vance is, actively saying, oh, let's not invade Iran, let's not bomb Iran, let's not coup Venezuela, let's not send ICE out every day, right? JD Vance has been a yes man, but JD Vance is constantly thinking about 2028, so it's probably coming off as insincere. He's probably reluctantly going along with these situations because he doesn't want to trigger Donald Trump's feelings and lose his endorsement for 2028. Marco Rubio has the advantage that lately he has been able to just be a complete yes man, a complete suck up because he doesn't have to worry about 2028 because I bet in his mind he thought JD Vance was going to sail to it. He probably didn't even plan on running, but now all these donors are coming to him. Now he's going to consider it. So I imagine Marco Rubio is going to be playing it even more carefully now. And JD Vance is probably going to start panicking. I mean, you only really get one chance to run for president usually. JD Vance can try and run years later, but I mean, he is a young guy, but if Marco wins, JD Vance is probably never going to be president. If Marco Rubio lost, say he gets the nomination and loses to a Democrat, then yeah, sure, JD Vance can just come back and be like, I'm back. I'm going to do the policies of Donald Trump all over again in my own unique way, and it'll all be successful this time, trust me. But is that a risk he's willing to take? He probably has a big ego. He's funded by people like Peter Thiel. JD Vance is one of the biggest corporate puppets of all time. He's like the Democratic version of Gavin Newsom. The billionaire class love him. Marco Rubio, on the other hand, isn't like that. Marco Rubio is a massive sellout to the corporations, the elites. But Marco Rubio is more of a ideologue. That separates him from Trump and Vance. So Trump and Vance have that more in common, that they don't really believe in anything. Marco Rubio does. His mission in life is to basically destroy Cuba. It's kind of crazy. He wants to overthrow that regime over in Cuba. That's like his life goal, is to start a war and coup Cuba and, destroy it. He would probably be one of the most hawkish presidents we've had. He's Secretary of State. He's definitely a key component to why Trump's second term has been so aggressive. So yeah, if Marco Rubio wins, these wars are just going to continue. The U.S. is just going to continue on this massive war path that it's gone under in this second Trump term. Another reason that I think the donors are looking to replace Vance for Rubio, and that Trump may even be thinking about it, is because they don't think Vance is the most electorally viable candidate. Look at this. Vance won by 6 points in Ohio. Ohio's a pretty red state. Just look at what Trump won it by in 2024, 11 points, and in 2020, 8 points. That is not something that the Republican Party is going to be too happy about. He is an underperformer, and 2022 was a better year for Republicans than 2020, and he underperformed Trump by 2 points. Sure, 2024 was a better year, so Trump overperforming him makes sense, but Trump overperformed him by 5 points in 2024. Look at this. 11 points. That's an insane margin. So they don't think that JD Vance can probably win in 2028. That's why the donors are getting behind Rubio. They don't really care. They probably both like them because they're both going to be super elitist, super pro-corporate candidates. But they're getting around Rubio because I think he has a higher chance of winning. That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. Also, Vance is the VP. He's going to have the stench of Donald Trump. Nobody wants to vote for Donald Trump. Do you really expect a state like Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin, all states that voted for Trump by under 2 points, to vote for him again? It's just not happening, and they know this as well. JD Vance can't even do well in Ohio. How's he going to do well in the surrounding states? It's the main reason they want to get him out. They want to solidify a victory. Trump is probably going to jump on this bandwagon as well. Trump likes winners. And once he sees that JD Vance is a loser, he's going to completely ditch him. It's what he did to Mike Pence. Trump has no loyalty whatsoever to his VPs. As soon as he thinks it is convenient for his own gain to ditch them, he will. He will. And right now, that's why he's been glazing Rubio so hard. He sees Rubio as the best chance forward, and so does the party. Will this stay the case? Anything can change, so who knows? But it is an interesting dynamic. The main reason I'm making this video is because I was expecting to pretty much just talk about the 2028 Democratic primary, because it's so important that the Democrats pick the right candidate, somebody who's actually pro-worker and, willing to fight the Republicans, that I didn't even really consider covering the Republican nomination because I figured it was a foregone conclusion. But clearly I was wrong. It is going to be pretty fluid over there. There's a great chance that JD Vance or Marco Rubio run away with it, or they have a competitive primary, or someone like Donald Trump Jr. gets involved and completely throws a wrench in it. Or Tucker Carlson has teased running for president now. So the Republican primary is actually going to be pretty competitive, it seems, which is only going to not help their situation, because you typically don't want the incumbent to have a competitive primary. It makes them quite a bit weaker going into the general. It doesn't really hurt the challenger all that much because people just kind of want the incumbent out more. So even if their candidate isn't the correct challenger they wanted, they'll just suck it up and vote for them because they they want that incumbent gone. We kind of live in a time period now where incumbency advantage is a thing of the past. Let's go back to 2008, Obama, the last landslide, right? Well, we're in a new era of American politics. Obama did worse when he got reelected in 2012. That usually doesn't happen. That almost never happens. If you win re-election, you typically win by a bigger margin, not a smaller margin. So Obama's incumbency hurt him electorally. And then the incumbent party, the Democrats, they lost in 2016. Trump was the incumbent in 2020, he lost. The Democrats were the incumbent in 2024, they lost. So for the last 4 presidential cycles, there's been an incumbency disadvantage. And I mainly think that's because the economy hasn't been doing well. Really, since the recession in 2008, we have just not recovered from that. And COVID made it even worse. And now AI is making it worse. The war in Iran is making it worse. The economy is struggling, which is another reason why they don't want Vance to be the candidate, because Trump's worst issue is the economy. He's like over 20 points underwater on that single issue. So they don't want the vice president of the unpopular incumbent to run on the economy. That is never a winning issue. So they're banking on Rubio kind of, coming in and saying he's going to fix everything, and but that's not going to work. It's not going to work because Rubio is the Secretary of State. They would if the Republicans want to run an outsider campaign, they're literally going to have to pick somebody that like none of us are thinking about right now. And I don't see that happening, which is why the Democrats have a huge advantage in 2028, which is why I always stretch why this election, this primary is going to be so important. The Democrats have to pick the right candidate. It doesn't matter if they're electorally viable. They just have to support the right things because 2028, the Democrats are probably going to win, to be honest. People are so mad. Trump's approval rating is far lower than it even was in 2020. And we won in 2020 with a senile old man. So if we can win that election with a terrible candidate and a more popular incumbent, we could pretty much win this one with our eyes closed. Unless the Democrats just completely and utterly throw, which is not something they're opposed to. The Democratic Party does like to lose because they would far rather lose to a Republican than ever lose to a progressive in their own party. I'm just saying, the Democrats can get pretty effective at campaigning. They just choose not to against Republicans. They think about the stuff they did to Bernie Sanders. They would never do that to a Republican. Because at the end of the day, they believe they have a lot more in common with them than progressives. But that's a bit of a tangent. I just wanted to mainly go over the state of the race in 2028, and it seems like it is going to be very interesting on both sides. It's going to be a pretty bumpy ride. And it's kind of exciting to see because we haven't had competitive primaries in a long time. The last one was the 2020 Democratic primary. The Republicans haven't had a competitive primary since 2016. The Democrats, like I just said, was 2020. We had no competitive primaries in 2024. And it looks like we're finally going to get some competitive primaries that'll get people engaged. And that is exciting because we are struggling as a country. So I genuinely hope the right candidate comes around and excites this country to do something, to inspire the people to do better. Not that the people are really doing anything wrong, they're just being fooled by a con man in the White House, but hopefully the right candidate can come and turn their hatred towards the people it actually belongs to, and that's the rich upper class. And it looks like the rich upper class is picking their candidate. It's going to be Marco Rubio. So I bet we weren't expecting that, but Trump looks like he's going to dump Vance. That's my early prediction. I would say Trump is going to do one of two things. He is not going to endorse in the 2028 primary immediately, or If Rubio starts doing well, he's gonna backstab Vance because it's for his own interest, and that's all Trump does. Everything is about preserving his own interest. All right, well, we're gonna wrap it up there. Again, just wanted to cover the state of these races, because these are going to be some interesting primaries going forward. I will be updating through the whole journey. We still have the midterms to go, but we're already talking about these primaries because they are that important. So if you enjoy the content we hear, like and subscribe. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.